Welcome to another 6-5 on the road here, a remote on the road. There's one company that got everybody talking last year. It was VMware. VMware and Broadcom, the integration, real stuff is happening. In fact, we got to meet most of the senior leadership team on the day one deal close. It was quite an experience, Dan.
Yeah, it was day 0.5. We were there on the day, talking to all of the senior leadership, including having the exclusive opportunity to talk to Hock Tan himself. And it has been one of the biggest newsmakers over the last year. This was a mega deal, Pat. This was more than $60 billion in the coming together of two very important players in the technology space with a vision of, the future, which has a lot to do with taking the cloud and the multi-cloud opportunity, the data and the estate that is the enterprise, and driving more value. And of course, with AI coming on so strong and unleashing AI being so important, Pat, it's been a really fascinating journey to follow.
Yeah, VCF, I mean, Broadcom is all in on VCF. It's super exciting. And that's essentially equipping the entire private cloud, and whether it's applications, networking, and security, it's super fun. Let us introduce our guest, Umesh. How are you? Great to see you.
Hey, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Dan. It's wonderful to be here today with you all. I'm excited, like you mentioned, like the whole focus, Broadcom made a big acquisition. This was like a year and a half in happening, but it's been done and behind us. And we're excited at what we are doing at Broadcom at this time.
Yeah, and sorry we didn't get the chance to talk to you already, right? We talked not only on day 0.5, I guess deal close day, but we also had some great conversations at Mobile World Congress. Sorry we missed you, but here we are.
So Umesh, let me jump in and ask you, we're 5 months now past the close of this deal of, VMware's acquisition of by Broadcom. And of course, it's VMware by Broadcom, right? That's how, that's kind of how it's properly labeled. But like in your world, in the ANS division, application network and security, what's your big focus and what big opportunities do you see right now?
It's really been an exciting 5 months post-acquisition. At Broadcom, we are like completely focused on our mission. And our mission at ANS is to deliver zero trust lateral security and application load balancing for our strategic customers where VCF is focused. Now, our customers tell us security is top of mind for them due to relentless malware and ransomware attacks happening. Breaches are occurring every day, whether it's universities, banks, or other enterprise customers. So you have to deploy security and load balancing as VCF gets deployed. You can't wait like 2 years later, I'll deploy security or something. No, that's not the norm. And we have the right software-defined architecture. We are completely plug and play with VCF, and we provide the best comprehensive lateral security and load balancing. And that fits in with the Broadcom strategy and vision. We see a private cloud, and along with that, ANS delivers security and load balancing for the workloads.
Yeah, you're really hitting on a confluence of mega trends here. And listen, the public cloud is 15 years old. The private cloud, let's say, is about 5 years old. And as those private cloud stacks get more mature, like yours, a lot of enterprises are considering not just public cloud, but private cloud. And the other element here is the talk about data, right? As it relates to AI and of course, analytics and machine learning, it is in focus. And how do I protect this, right? As our infrastructure has fractalized, right, out on the edge, pretty much everywhere, our applications have fractalized too. No longer is it just one giant monolithic application. We have microservices, we have APIs, we have all of these different things going on. What are the top security pain points to secure all this data right now?
You hit it on the head, right? Our customers are faced with all these challenges and their developers are banging on them. I want to do Kubernetes. No, I want to have traditional virtual machine applications. I have a mix of everything. I want to be on-prem. I want to be in the public cloud, hybrid cloud, 3 different permutation combinations. How do you deal with that? So what we find is customers tell us, we've deployed perimeter firewalls, but the reality is attackers are still getting in, because that one fat pipe coming into the data center and putting 200,000 firewall rules over there doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
So, and traditional security appliances don't work for lateral security, because you need to protect every workload, not just 3 workloads, because you can get compromised there and then they can pass along and attack the other workloads. And the traditional architecture just doesn't work. The racks on the side, tromboning of traffic. On top of that, the attacks are changing, right? The firewall alone doesn't do it. Yeah, it could be next-gen firewall, so be it. But you need IDS, IPS, you need deep packet inspection, signature-based attacks are coming in, then behavioral attacks are coming in, you need NT, NDR, network detection and response, if you're going to prevent against ransomware, which is happening more and more. And it's very difficult to take these appliances. Yeah, I have one of everything. How did you stitch it together? Yeah, we hear that a lot, right? It's very difficult to stitch all these security elements together into one uniform platform. And then you also need this full visibility and analytics. You all talked about it, right? If you don't know what's going on, how do you protect that? So that's where you have to have the full visibility and provide rule recommendations in real time so that you can protect yourself, because things change over time. Then there's this other aspect. There's tons of open source, and that's a hacker's delight, right? Open source is available. Keep looking through the code, come in with and attack the vulnerabilities, and get into your data center. And open source is in everybody's product, including ours, right? So that's how they get in, and very easily they find some vulnerability and get in. So our customers are telling us all these changes are happening, and our developers want to move faster and faster. How do I provide comprehensive security and get it deployed fast?
That's
so excellent. So you sort of started, discussing there are some of the challenges that customers are facing. Obviously, what open source and the vulnerabilities that creates, just the growth of black hats and those that are trying to take advantage of multi cloud architectures and the vulnerabilities that are created by having lots of disparate systems. You must be focused right now, though, on building out the strongest, most compelling value proposition for ANS as you can. What is the value prop in the use cases where you're finding the most alignment, Umesh? Like how are you finding, where is the customers coming to you? Where are you getting the big wins?
So what we find is the sweet spot is lateral security, right? Because that's where we shine. We have the right architecture, software-defined distributed architecture, hypervisor integrated, and scales horizontally, right? If you're building a cloud, you're using commodity servers, we just take a little bit of the CPU and scale horizontally, and we are managed from one location. So it's like almost collapsing hundreds of firewalls or load balancers or elements like that, or IDS, IPS, and making it into a one big firewall, one big IDS appliance, or one big NT, NDR appliance. But there are other aspects to security too. One is the architecture and the scale, how it all works. But we think there are 3 aspects of security: visibility, detection, and prevention. Because, I have a lot of security experts, older time. If you can't see it, you can't secure, because you thought you put in some firewall rules, etc. Along came somebody else 2 months later, added a few things, and that's not protected. So you have to have real-time visibility, and you have to be able to see everything before you can truly say I'm secure. And then once you have the visibility, then you can use something like distributed firewall and microsegment your entire environment. You start with your key application, and then you spread out. You do macro segmentation, then you get finer grained, you do micro segmentation. And our visibility analytics tool can even help you with that, right? Can show you what is an application. It can show you what is secure, what is not secure. So it gives a health score. This is secure. This is not secure. You better be sure this is the way you want it. And then you can lock it down. Then there are the software vulnerabilities, Log4j. There was a big hoo-ha a year back. And while we provided code fixes to our customers, it took them at sometimes like 3 months to deploy. That's a very long time. With IDS, IPS technology, if it's deployed, 1 or 2 rules, and you can protect against that. But the most dangerous kind is the NTA, NDR, ransomware. Things are moving around laterally. How do you detect that, the signatures or the telltale anomalies which are disguised because they are using well-known protocols? How do you correlate them, figure out it's a threat campaign, alert the SOC team? And finally, I kind of initially mentioned ours is not a disparate set of products. We are like a full stack security architecture. So these are not different appliances. They're just layered on top of each other and they build upon each other. So you get all elements of security. You can just start with firewall and you can go all the way up to NTA, NDR and protect against ransomware, fully integrated with VCF and really easy to deploy as a single product. So that's where I think we shine. And that's what our customers like about us.
Gosh, have we really made it this far in and not talked about LLMs? I mean, I floated kind of the AI and Gen AI, but Umesh, I have to ask, how does all of this intersect with generative AI and LLMs? We talked a little bit about the importance of data. Is there anything beyond that, or is it all about the data?
No, it's certainly, I think AI has come to the forefront. AI ML were excellent. There was a lot of buzz, but I think GenAI has just taken it to the next level. And you have to use that technology. You have to use it because it can let you do so much more like humans that you just can't bypass it. So the way we are doing is we've been using AI ML for visibility and threat analytics because, you have to deduce certain things. You have to learn, hey, this is an attack. Is this also an attack? And how do you protect, etc. But GenAI is you can use it very differently. And, the most complicated security product we have is the behavioral analytics, right? Because there's no guarantee. You're thinking, okay, if this talks to this, then it went here, then it went there. Oh, this is an attack. Maybe it's an attack. Maybe it's not an attack. So that's where GenAI comes in. And that's where we are able to, look at these alerts, sift through them, and figure out this is the true campaign, and the rest is the alerts, maybe, but these for sure are real attacks. So we can take like 100 alerts and come up with 5 alerts which we think are useful, give you the context, and then beyond that we can tell you, hey, this is a real attack. If you agree, very quickly, this is how to protect it. So these sophisticated attacks, what's happening is, and they are increasing, trust me, the hackers are really, really smart people, sometimes super smart. So they're not going to rest easily. They're going to attack in very complicated fashions. And if we are able to take this large volume of data, reduce it, make sense out of it, now the security admins or the SOC admins can quickly prevent it and deploy it. They always wanted something to protect, but they were worried they're going to make a mistake. So they don't know which way to go, left, right. So with this kind of investment which we have, we feel we can guide them and make them very successful in a short period of time.
So let's get a little technical here, Umesh. I mean, load balancing.
I think he's up for it. I think Umesh is
I
up for
know.
it
But you and I, we like to play in the cloud. We take selfies and pictures. No, I'm kidding. Well, we do like that stuff, but we also like to get kind of nerdy. I mean, for instance, talk a little bit about, AVI or Avi load balancing a little bit. This seems to be something that's a bit of a secret sauce. It's special. It's something that, ANS is able to do. What are the top use cases for it?
Yeah, so when you look at load balancing, traditionally you've had vendors which they haven't changed a lot over time. It's still a box-based or an appliance-based architecture scale up. some improvements. Of course, there's a lot of software there, but those architectures are box-based architectures or metal boxes, as some people call them. So where Avi comes in, it's the only software-defined architecture in private cloud. In public cloud, yes, Amazon has a load balancer, elastic load balancer, but in the private cloud, there's nothing like Avi. And we have built over the years, a distributed load balancer. And again, all the features are there. So it scales very nicely, elastic load balancer, and it brings in this massive operational simplification. You don't have to, manage a few hundred load balancers or tens of load balancers. You just manage from one place. The other part we've done with Avi is we made it completely plug and play with VCF. Now, when it comes to load balancers, you have to get the traffic to the load balancer, load balance it, and then bring it back. So because if you don't do it properly, you won't get the traffic to the right place. So that's where we are able to ourselves discover the VCF stack, do the routing properly, stitch it together. Customer doesn't need to do anything. Then we are fully integrated with the vRealize automation. So app owners can deploy the workload, can deploy the Avi load balancer at that same time. No later on, no special tickets are needed. Okay, we have to do load balancing.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? And finally, there is the other secret sauce is the application analytics within the Avi platform.
Yeah.
When you're using an application, all of us want the response instantaneously, right? We don't want any latency or, okay, it's okay to take 2 minutes before we get the answer. So with Avi, we have the analytics built in. It looks at the data, and it can tell you, hey, the latency is going up and X, Y, Z may be the reason. So load balancing admins and IT admins just love it because otherwise they're going to get paged or called later. They want to know it before the fact so that they can.
Yeah.
So again, that's one of our key differences.
Listen, VMware is noted and famous for a lot of things, and virtualization. Like, you're one of the first companies to do that, but not that we've moved on from virtualization. Like, we've got a lot of virtualization, but there's a lot of container as an application transport. The great thing is about containers, you can throw them across the hybrid multi-cloud regardless of where you want them. And as long as you do it in a standard way, you are good. Does Avi bring anything unique to Kubernetes workloads?
Absolutely. Because like you correctly pointed out, customers are building applications both way, the traditional virtual machines manner and with Kubernetes and containers. So that is something which has been happening for the last several years and will continue to happen. So how does Avi fit in? First of all, Kubernetes workloads tend to be dynamic. You never say, like, I'm going to migrate this in a non-disruptive fashion. This is like developers driven. They want to program it, they want to change it, they want to bring it down, they want to spin it up somewhere else very quickly.
Yeah.
They want that control. So what better architecture than a software-defined architecture? Can spin up load balancers anywhere. We have an API, you can programmatically control everything in the Avi load balancer. So that's really, really powerful about Avi. But at the same time, Avi is hardened because large enterprises and service providers are using it. So unlike open source metal load balancer, some other load balancer, which has X number of features, which are good, but it doesn't have Y kind of features. A real enterprise needs those other features too, which they've been using for a long time. And then some of the open source stuff doesn't scale properly.
Yeah.
And in a brownfield environments, how do you deal with brownfield? So that's where Avi shines, and we support all the Kubernetes distributions.
Love it.
So we've got a few minutes left, Umesh, and thanks so much for being so generous with your time. Really enjoying this conversation very much. I would be missing a big opportunity now that, you're giving us a 5-month later playbook, but this is really still early days. I love to say it's, the market loves to say it's AI has been decided or the cloud has been decided. And, after almost 2 decades, we're only 25% of workloads in the cloud. We're only, we're 40 years into AI algorithms, but we're really only a year or two into the real AI deployments, and it's still early days. And guess what? For the Broadcom and VMware deal, it's still early days. So for ANS, talk to me a little bit about what you see on the horizon for you, your team, and your portfolio.
So we've been talking to our customers even before the acquisition, and definitely after the acquisition, with a focus on strategic customers, which are the larger customers. So we've kind of seen, hey, what are the challenges they have? So we are laser focused to deliver quickly on the results so that they can deal with those challenges. So one is they're challenged with deployments. That's how do they deploy security and load balancing? So we talked about visibility and analytics. We are working even harder on those tools to make it easier and easier to deploy and operate. They see everything, we give the recommendations, and then they can quickly deploy with the best practices. Next is advanced features. We talked about ransomware, behavioral security, behavioral attacks. How do we deal with that? That's where the GenAI Project Cypress came in. We want to deliver it in the latter part of this year, Q3 or somewhere there. We are going to deliver that. And for Avi, we are doubling down on application analytics and Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a very sweet area for Avi, because those are the greenfield opportunities. We enter from there, and then we can penetrate the rest of the customer. And there are 5G use cases, service providers. The traditional load balance are just too cumbersome and expensive for them. And the final part of the puzzle is the applications are growing fast, whether they are virtual machine based, especially their containers. People are cranking out applications. They almost don't want to talk to each other. Let's write an app. We will communicate via the app. So the apps are growing not by 10%, 20%. They're growing 2x, 3x, 4x. So our security and load balancing needs to scale in the same fashion. So this year we are going bonkers about increasing our scale 3x, 4x for security and load balancing, and we're going to deliver it in the summer. So that's what we are up to.
Well, Umesh, I want to thank you so much for joining us here. It's been a lot of fun having you on the 6.5 on the road virtual edition. There was a lot to learn here. And you kind of got us all the way through, Umesh, kind of from the business and overview all the way to a bit of the geek in all of us when you talked about everything from load balancing to the biggest challenges that CISOs and security organizations are facing with networking. I would love to have you back on the show sometime soon, Umesh, if we can make that happen. But for this one, I'm going to set you free. I'll let you go, and let's talk again soon.
Thanks, Dan and Pat. It was great talking to you. Looking forward to future conversations.
And everyone out there, hit that subscribe button. Join us for all of our episodes here on the 6.5. We appreciate our partner with Broadcom and VMware here for this particular episode. But for this one, it's time for Patrick and myself to say goodbye. See you all later.